Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. Mayor Bill Morrow is asking the rest of City Council to pass a motion of support for Ukraine's sovereignty. That includes lending a hand to refugees. In the mayor's motion that he's asking to be forwarded to the federal government, Morrow wants Ottawa to welcome those fleeing the conflict in Ukraine to Canada with open arms. He also wants Thunder Bay to be identified as an ideal settlement location for potential refugees. Our city has about 14,000 citizens who identify as having Ukrainian heritage, and the municipality associate has been deemed a resettlement assistance program agency by the government. Morrow says his role is to stand by and watch.
But ultimately, to pick a number, if Thunder Bay was fortunate enough to receive 500 or 1,000 or 50, whatever the number may be, ultimately, these individuals are going to need a range of supports, primarily being, when you think about housing.
City staffers are also asking for council support on a funding application to the federal government's Active Transportation Fund. It would cover 60% of the cost to create multi-use bridges, one near Lakehead University's field house and the other between George Burke Park and River Terrace. An announcement by the province last month that will bring a total of 54 new long-term care beds to the Northwest is being welcomed by healthcare and municipal leaders in Marathon. The town's 14 new beds are expected to free up space in the hospital and allow older residents who have had to leave their community the chance to come home. Adam Riley has the details.
Come spring or summer of 2024, 14 residents from the Marathon area will have access to new long-term care beds, following an announcement last month by Ontario Long-Term Care Minister Paul Calandra. It comes at a time where the Wilson Memorial Hospital, where the new wing will be built to accommodate those beds, currently uses its chronic care wing to act as what North of Superior Healthcare Group CEO Adam Brown calls quasi-long-term care beds. He says the new beds will allow a shift and give them some breathing room on the capacity front, noting back to a similar situation when Wilkes Terrace in Terrace Bay was built.
At the time, the McCausland Hospital was overrun with occupancy. It was running 120% occupancy for several years prior to opening Wilkes Terrace. And almost immediately we filled up Wilkes Terrace, the 22 beds in Terrace Bay. And the chronic wing sat relatively empty for a number of years. So it's now taken, that's 11 years since we opened. It's taken now 11 years until that chronic wing is kind of filled back up to capacity.
Brown notes the design features a 7,000 square foot addition to the east end of the hospital, and with it being incorporated into the hospital itself, it won't require a kitchen or mechanical rooms. Acting Mayor Greg Valance says this project is great news for Marathon.
We're looking really forward to kind of rounding out our healthcare system here in the community, and having these long-term care beds will allow us that opportunity, and it's going to allow us the opportunity to maintain that aging demographic within the community and keeping those individuals as they access healthcare services with their family.
Valance adds there will also be an economic spin-off from the jobs created both in the construction and the operation of the long-term care wing. Other communities in the region include Atikokan and Manitouwadge, who are getting 22 and 18 long-term care beds respectively. While some might think of those numbers as unusual, Brown says they work very well with the new requirement set by the province.
To have 4 hours per resident per day of care, so that's some new legislation that was recently introduced, and that 14 beds fits nicely into 4-hour shift patterns. 16 wouldn't work as well, 12 wouldn't work as well, so you'd have to go from 14 perhaps up to 18 and perhaps up to 22 to make it work.
Once the design and engineering is complete, shovels are expected to be in the ground spring of 2023. Adam Riley, TBT News.
A funding request to help the town of Schreiber with federally mandated upgrades to its sewage treatment plant have been denied by upper levels of government. That's left the community in a tough position, which could lead to a substantial increase in water and sewer rates. The plant is nearing 50 years in age, and in order for the $1.2 million upgrade to phase out chlorine and replace it with UV light to treat waste, an extra $700,000 in electrical work is required. The latest funding request to FedNor was turned down, which, according to Schreiber's CAO Nathan Diaz, means they're back to square one. He says money from higher levels of government would allow the municipality to not have to pay for the project entirely themselves, which he estimates would require a 42% increase in sewer rates. That method would have a big impact on both residents and anyone currently operating or looking to operate a commercial property in Schreiber. To prevent that and get the work started, the town is breaking the project down into phases.
That way gives us the opportunity, if down the road that we see suitable funding, that we would be able to then pursue the rest of that scope of work, go at it phase by phase. That being said, there's some strategy in doing these things. Right now, there's a very low interest rate. If we were to take the financing for the entire project, right, that may work out very well. But if we do that, then we lose the opportunity of pursuing grants down the line.
Phase 1 of the upgrades is expected to have a price tag of $170,000, which would require a smaller increase to the sewer rate. The town of Marathon is cutting down the list of candidates to replace one of its members of council following the resignation of Chantel Zingra. Zingra was on council for just short of 8 years, but has taken a job with the municipality as the head librarian. Rules that govern municipalities do not allow employees of the municipality to serve on council. With the next municipal election just 7 months away, council has opted to take applications from members of the public, from which they will then choose Zingra's replacement. Acting Mayor Greg Valens says they have a list of 5 names who will be interviewed this month, and he says they have a tough choice ahead of them.
From those 5 candidates, we got a really strong pool of individuals that kind of represent every sector within the community. Employment sector, healthcare, education. So we're really excited, and we're really fortunate for the individuals who did step up, and we're looking forward to filling that seat.
Valens is hopeful the experience gained by the applicant will make them want to put their name forward again for the fall election. Some local students had the chance to get out of the classroom and participate in a fun winter activity this past week. Dozens of students from Ecole Grand Morgan, Algonquin, and Hammersholt gathered at Prince Arthur's Landing to learn the fun aspects and safety tips for ice fishing. Vasilios Bellos has more.
While the students that participated at Marina Park did not have much luck catching any fish, they clearly enjoyed the experience. For many, it was their first time ice fishing, and they had the opportunity to learn more about the pastime, including how to bait the hook and reel their lines in. Joanne Noden is a student from Hammersholt who hasn't been ice fishing since she was young. She says she really enjoyed the event and believes she and her classmates learned a lot.
I think it's a good opportunity to be doing this type of stuff because we're focused like so much in school. We're in this little room. You know, I think it's nice for us to actually get out and learn some on-hand like stuff like this, and being able to, you know, still get our credits and have fun at the same time.
Community and safety partners were also in attendance, including the Indigenous Friendship Center and Thunder Bay Fire Prevention. These groups helped provide students with lessons aside from ice fishing, with the school board wanting them to take away as much as possible from the experience. Board Chair Ellen Chambers says these types of events are a highlight for any student.
When you talk to kids when they finished a school year or finished even a school career, it's pretty much these events that are the ones that they always talk about and have a huge impact, and having fun and learning at the same time. It's a really important way to build on our education.
If you give a student a fish, you feed them for a day, you teach them to fish, you feed them for life. And that's what we're doing today, is we have this awesome opportunity.
The students that participated no doubt left Prince Arthur's Landing with some valuable lessons they can use throughout their lives, and for many, the love of a new hobby. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
After a 2-year hiatus, the Thunder Bay Community Auditorium has reopened their doors once again, and to start it off with a bang this weekend, Dance Fest hit center stage. Hundreds of local dancers came by the auditorium to hit the stage and perform in front of a crowd, something many of them haven't been able to do in 2 years. With the auditorium now being allowed to bring in spectators, audience members were able to come and go as they pleased to watch the dancers at no cost. The major damping competition has been at this venue before. General Manager Trevor Hurt is excited to have them back once again.
It was actually a little bit emotional when I drove in today. To see the activity, people actually coming and going from the building. It's been a very long 2 years. Being back and having this like this today is just phenomenal.
To be honest, the last 2 years have been extremely hard on the dance community, on the arts in general. So it's been a little bit tentative when we got back, but once these kids hit the stage and the spotlight hit them again, we were like, oh my God, we're back. Everything's back to normal.
The excitement that both Hertig and Hawkins felt was universal for everyone visiting the venue this weekend and will continue throughout the final day of the dance competition on Monday. The excitement won't fade away too fast, however, as the Auditorium will have their first ticketed show on March 16th with Bianca Del Rio. Now joined by sports anchor Kurt Black. Now heading from outdoors, a little bit of snow, indoors for the final game, home game of the Wolf Den. How is it going over there?
Oof, boy, Mitch, what a show both our men's and women's team put on last night. We'll have all the details right after the break.